Alright guys, so now we're going to get into forms. Now, a lot of this is the same as Bootstrap 3, so again, if you have experience with Bootstrap 3, that's going to help you. So we're in the file 3_5 forms.html, and we're going to start here where it says start here, and we're going to add to our form divs here. So each div has a label and an input. Okay, so we have text input for name, for email, password, then we have some option select lists, some radio buttons down here. So let's start with this first div, and we're going to give it a class of form group. Okay, form group is what you want to wrap your labels and inputs with. So let's actually just add a form group class to all of these divs. So we'll do for the email, for the password group, for the gender, and the message, and for the file. All right, we're not going to go past the form check for now. And then each input is going to have a class of form control. That's what's going to make the input display as a block. It's also going to give it some rounded corners, a nice border. It's going to make it look much better. So in the input, let's add a class of form control. So we'll just grab that and we'll put that on this input as well. Let's put it right here. I'll put it after the ID. Doesn't really matter where you put it. We're also going to put it on the select, and we're going to put it in the text area as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and save that, and there we go. You can already see how much better this looks just by adding form group and form control. Those are really the two main form and input classes that you need to use. Now for the file, that actually has the input with the type of file, has its own class called form control file. So we can go ahead and put that in here. So class form control dash file. Okay, that makes that look a little better. And then you see how I have some text under some of these, max 3 megabytes. We have some help text right here. We have these in these small tags, and we want to give those a class of form dash text. So that one, we also have this small tag right here, which will give form dash text. Okay, just changes the padding up a little bit, I believe. And we can also make it lighter if you want. If you want to give it a class of text muted. Okay, that'll make it lighter. We can do that for the file one as well. Okay. Now we can also change the size of the inputs. So for instance, if we want the email to be a large input, we could do that. So right where we have form control, we just want to add in form control dash LG and save, and now you can see it's bigger. We also have form control SM for smaller. SM, save, and now you can see name is. Now usually you won't use these like small and large in the same form. That looks silly. I'm just doing this to give you an example. You'd probably want to use all the same size inputs. Alright, so those are the basics. Now if we go down here, when we're using radio buttons and checkboxes, they actually have some of their own classes. I'm going to give this field set a class of form group. Okay, just like we did above, and then we have some divs with a label and then a radio button inside that label. So these divs are actually going to have a class of form dash check. Alright, so we'll just copy that, we'll put it here and here, and also on this one here, which is just the checkbox. Okay, and then we're going to go back up and we're going to put on the label, there's actually a class called form check label. So we'll put that here, here, and here. And then on the input itself with the radio, we're going to do form check input as a class. Okay, so we'll grab that and we'll put that here. and also on the input type checkbox, we'll put that as well. All right, so it actually doesn't do much for style. I'm actually not sure what some of them do, but they are in the documentation, and it's just good to use it, if anything, for semantic reasons. Let's see what else. Let's change this submit. We'll just give it a button class, make it look a little better. All right, and then we're going to move on to inline forms. Okay, so inline meaning we want everything on the same line. All right, I'm just going to make this a little bigger. And then for the form tag, we actually want to add a class to that called form inline. All right, so we'll say form inline. And then for these inputs, let's give them a class. Just like we did above, we're going to do class form control. Okay, and I'm also going to give it a margin right too, because they're going to be inline. I want them to have a little bit of space in between. So we're going to give that one the username as well as the password. We're also going to do form control margin right 2. All right, and then we have this remember me. So I'll give this div right here a class of form check. And then the label, we'll give it a class of form check label. All right, and I'm also going to give it a margin right 2. And the checkbox itself, we can give a class of form check input. All right, and then for the button, let's give that a class of btn. We'll do btn secondary and save. And let's make this a little bigger so everything fits. And now we have an inline form. Now we also have a form row class. So if we go down here to where it says form row, instead of using form group, we're going to say class form row. And then what we want to do is on these, we want to surround the inputs with divs and give those a class of call. Okay, and then we'll just put our form control class. All right, save that. And now we have a form row where we have 2 columns. All right, so now let's look at some of the validation classes. First, let's bootstrap this form up. So we need our form groups. Okay, let's do our form control classes on our inputs. Okay, so that looks good. Let's add, let's see, so for form validation, if we want the outline to be green, we're not going to actually do validation because that's going to be either with JavaScript or server side. So we're just adding classes to give it that look. So for this form control for the username, we're going to add a class of isValid, save that, and that's going to give it a green border. All right, now for the password, let's say that that's going to be a failed input. We're going to add the class of is-invalid, and that'll make it red. And then we have a message here, and you probably want to make that red as well. And we can give that a class of invalid-feedback, and that'll make it red. Okay, so same thing for the password too. If we want, we can say is invalid and then give this a class of invalid-feedback. All right, so there's some validation classes. So that's going to be it, guys, for forms. In the next video, we're going to take a look at input groups.